Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Friday morning. It's Stephen Whiteside here from the uptrend.com. In the pre-market this morning, stock index futures are up across the board, and they're looking pretty similar to what they looked like on Thursday morning, but you know how Thursday turned out. Now, before the market opens, we have a whole bunch of economic numbers coming out that could certainly help change the direction of the market. Now, on Friday mornings, I like to print off some weekly charts just to see how the market is holding up throughout the week. And so far, it's been a negative week for the U.S. market, with the S&P 500 down just over 2.5%. The Nasdaq leading the market lower, down nearly 5% this week. Then we've got the Russell 2000, which has been in a state of weakness for a while now, down over 2.5%. You can see the pros have already given up control at the bottom there. The TSX is holding up fairly well, almost unchanged on the week so far. Crude oil is down in nickel so far. It's down 70 cents in the pre-market on Friday morning, so that trend isn't going to change on Friday. Now, the price of gold has had a negative week. We're down $57.30 coming into Friday. In the pre-market this morning, we're down another $20. It looks like we're putting in a top up here. We'll just have to wait and see how the week finishes on Friday. Now, on a positive note, the price of coffee has come down a little over 4% on the week. And so, for somebody like myself addicted to coffee, that is a good sign. Now, we've spent this week with the VIX on a daily buy signal. Of course, that is negative for stocks. There's a new closing high for this move for the VIX, but there is a new high for the VIX for the NASDAQ and a new high for the VIX for the Russell 2000. So, not expecting any change in status for the VIX indices on Friday. Now, looking at the major index ETFs, starting off with the iShares for the TSX 60, we did close below the previous day's low. That's also true for the Vanguard Canada ETF, so no change in trend there. We saw a pullback in the TSX financials yesterday, a little gain for the energy sector, and then a pullback for the gold sector. And we would expect gold stocks to continue to move lower from here. Then looking at the Dow has a new closing low for this move from Thursday's trading action. Big move down for the S&P 500, the equal weighted S&P 500. Huge move down for the Nasdaq 100 yesterday, and the equal weighted and the next generation Nasdaq. So you can see that the market was getting out of technology stocks on Thursday, which were already on sell signals. There's the iShares for the Russell 2000 landing on our next price target. And you can see that 206.25 and then $200 would be the next targets to the downside. There's a new closing low for the small caps and a new closing low for the micro caps from Thursday's trading action. Now, it was the chip sector leading us lower yesterday, down over 6.5%. And of course, chips are within the technology sector, and they were down 3.64% on Thursday, making a new closing low. And guess what? We're back at where we were at the start of November. Looking at the Canadian banks, and they've all been reporting earnings this week, and we've got one big trend change from Thursday's trading action. Inside day for Bank of Montreal, still trying to break through the 150 level. You can see 156.25 would be our next target if we can take out 150. No joy for the Bank of Nova Scotia, still on a sell signal here. And wide range day for the CIBC, still on a sell signal, no change in trend. Then we had the National Bank continue to move lower, making a new low for this move on Thursday. And then, unfortunately, the Royal Bank had a wild day yesterday, opening higher and closing lower and back on a daily sell signal as of Thursday's close. Going in the other direction was the TD Bank. It dipped below the lower channel line, but ended the day closing above it once again. So no change in trend for the TD Bank. Now, looking at the cryptocurrencies, both Bitcoin and Ethereum held up fairly well yesterday, while technology stocks continued to move lower. But I've got Bitcoin down 5% in the pre-market and Ethereum down 8% in the pre-market on Friday morning. So it looks like both of those are going to make new lows on Friday. Let's finish off this morning's presentation looking at our favorite technology stocks. And there's the Magnificent 7 ETF making a new low for this move, down over 3% yesterday. We've got Apple back on a sell signal, joining everyone else already on a sell signal. Amazon was down yesterday. We've got Broadcom still holding the January lows so far. That's certainly not true for Alphabet, down making a new low for this move on Thursday. Meta's holding up fairly well at the moment. It was down on the day, but hasn't taken out the recent low. Then there's a new low for Microsoft from Thursday's trading action. Wild day for NVIDIA. Yesterday morning, the stock index futures were being held up by NVIDIA, which was trading higher in the pre-market. And as you can see, it gave all those gains up and then some. And so at some point, it looks like we're going to go down and retest the January lows. We might not do that on Friday morning. Then Shopify is holding up fairly well, still on a sell signal here, still attached to the lower channel line. Compare that to Tesla, which made a new low for this move, landed on our next price target of 281.25. And if you follow that line back to the left, you'll see that's the top of an open gap. And 250 would be our next target to the downside, filling that open gap. And we may not get there on Friday. Okay, folks, that is all for this morning's presentation. We've got stock index futures up in the pre-market ahead of those economic numbers coming out at 8:30 this morning. It is the last trading day of the month, and the end of the month usually has a bullish bias to it, as the market is expecting automatic money to hit the market, and it usually goes into the buy side of the stock market. You have a great day. Next time you'll hear my voice, if you're a member, is on Sunday. And on Sunday, we'll walk through any changes in the major weekly charts.
Thanks for tuning in until the very end of today's stock market timing educational video. If you found the content valuable, don't forget to express your support by hitting the like button, leave a comment, sharing with your friends, and subscribing to our channel for more insightful updates. Remember, in the world of stocks, timing is crucial, and following the trend can be your greatest ally. If you would like more information on how we can help you better time the stock market, please visit theuptrend.com.